Okay, so pinning the collar pieces in place. So when you're doing this, in your seam allowance point, the front pieces of these two are going to meet. So in your 0.5 seam allowance on the top part of the dress, there may be a teeny tiny crossover, because at that point in the making of the dress, those 2 points need to meet. It's not an exact science, but anyway, I'll show you what I mean. So if you look on this dress, it's very hard because I've picked the wrong sort of fabric really, but like if you look on this, so this is my pleat that I've pressed. I've just kept them in place with these pins. Here I've marked the 0.5 down, so this is the point here where the two collar pieces coming down will meet, because that's the very, very front of the dress. The other thing you need to remember is that the back of the dress here, where our, I make it like a placard is for the poppers to go on, one goes over the other. So at the back, this will finish on this line here, but this one will go underneath. So when it's fastened and all together, they will, so when you're pinning it, it's easiest to do it upright because this is how the dress will be worn. So I tend to line it up like that. See how it's, but also this piece needs to run all the way around as far as it will go around the back. So let's now move that pin from the bottom and pop it in the top of that pleat. It's breaking it through the collar, and it's sitting there now. And then I do the same to the other side. Actually, that other one needs to come over just a little bit more. Oh, just stabbed my finger. Right, so at that previous marked point, the blue bit is just there. They meet on the front of the dress. Might just raise that one up just a smidge. This is how precise I like to be. As close as I'm going to get them, I think. And then you just line it up with the rest of the dress around the edge of the neckline. So this is the underneath part, and you can see it's lined up with that point, which is just about right. And then on this side, going around the neckline. This one here meets the end, which is still that point that you have marked over, but obviously we folded that under earlier to make that nice edge, so it looks like this side's shorter. But when you put the back of your dress together with your crossover bit, you'll see the 2 points match. So that's the back, and the collar matches, and that's the front, and the collar matches. Now all you need to do is base stitch that in place. On an adult garment, you probably base stitch at about 4mm stitch line, but I'm going to use a 3, maybe 3.5 at a push, because I don't really want to lose any of it. So move your stitch length up, and you just now sew along the top to base stitch it all in place. Nice and flat. To move it to do. Obviously, don't let your presser foot push the second collar away, because obviously this was lying flat. It's going to butt up against the next one, so don't let it push it up. Try and keep it in place, else you'll end up with a kink at the front. I'm just going to make sure it's all nicely positioned and not moving. I sometimes put my thumb underneath it, so it prevents that from happening. Make sure I'm not stitching anything too, so they're not going to move underneath. This is all a bit gathered up now, so we've got all these layers in play. I'll be in the second sleeve. Just going to give it a bit of a turn on this last bit. So we can have a collar based stitched into place. That's the front, and there's the back. I quite like a Peter Pan collar myself. I want someone, I think I'd do myself like a black Peter Pan collared white Wednesday Addams dress. So that's the collar put on. I'll see you for the next bit.